and I'll start. Okay. So today we are going to read Dvidha Vitakka Sutta, that is Majjima Nikaya 19. Two kinds of thoughts. So this is a very good sutta, and it is explained in a very simple way. It is like very the core of Buddha's teaching, I will say. Okay. So thus have I heard on one occasion, the Blessed One was living as Shravati in Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus. Bhikkhus, venerable sir, they replied. The Blessed One said this. That time there were bhikkhus in front of Buddha, but now there are students. So I will also say students sometimes, because students are listening. So students, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, it occurred to me. Suppose that I divide my thoughts into two classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual pleasure, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of cruelty, and I set on other sides thoughts of renunciation, that is letting go, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. So like non-ill will, what can you say? That is loving kindness. Non-cruelty, that is compassion. So now students, when he said, before he got enlightenment, even Buddha had all these defilements in his minds coming up. This is a very good thing for us. It is, even he had all those thoughts. And he realized that if I make two sets and make them differentiate, one set of cruelty, ill will, sensual pleasures, and the other set of thoughts is, that is renunciation, compassion, loving kindness. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, and once he started meditating very ardently, very vigilantly, and ardently, and resolute, a thought of sensual desire aroused in me, he said. So even he was also recognizing. This is the main 6 R's. First is recognizing. So he recognized that the sensual desire had aroused in him. I understood thus. This word understood is very important. This is just his understanding. That is the level of understanding. That is when we really enter into jhanas, the level of understanding increases. So first he understood. This thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction. That is difficulties. Affliction is difficulties. And to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. So when a thought of sensual pleasure came in his mind, he understood, if I keep on rolling into these thoughts or pondering into these thoughts, that will cause difficulty for me, it will cause difficulty for others, and it will cause difficulties for both. And that will lead away me from Nibbana. It will be away from Nibbana. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. So the moment this 6 R starts, first is recognizing, then investigating. He investigated whether it is good for me, good for others. And then it started subsiding. So he started releasing, then relaxing. So this leads to my own affliction. It subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to the affliction of both, it subsided in me. When I considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in me. Whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. That is 6 R's. So he did 6 R's. He abandoned it. So the 6 R's is so much included in the sutta, and it is very well explained in a very detailed way. A thought of ill will arouse in me. The thought of ill will, that is, you can say aversion, and he recognized. A thought of cruelty aroused in me. I understood thus. This understood word is again very important. I understood thus. This thought of cruelty has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered thus, it subsided in me. Whenever a thought of cruelty arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. See, before, even if the thought of ill will came into his mind or cruelty came into his mind, he understood it, that this is not good for myself. So this is very important to understand, to relax, to release and relax. Step here is the main crux. Otherwise, just the thought comes, and immediately if you come into your object of meditation, you bring the craving back. You bring the hatred back with you. So by understanding, you really release and relax. And then you return back to the object of meditation, which is very important. So understanding that there is cruelty in my mind and releasing, abandoning is very important. And by abandoning, when he came to know it is not good for me, good for others, and good for both, then he realized and released, which is very important. The next step is more important. Students, whatever a student frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will be the inclination of the mind. If you keep on rolling into the same thought pattern, your mind will definitely incline into that state of mind. Whatever you think and ponder, always, if there is always an ill will or there's a cruelty in your mind, the inclination of the mind will definitely go to that side. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, he has abandoned the thought of renunciation to cultivate the thought of sensual desire. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of sensual desire. How our mind inclines to sensual pleasure? Once we are into sensual pleasure, thinking about our sensual pleasures and pondering upon those things, we are renunciating, we are letting go the thoughts of renunciation or letting go. Means we are not with our renunciations or with our letting go. We are always into craving when you are into sensual desires. So we are not doing a letting go or doing 6 R's. And then only we can ponder into sensual desire. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of ill will, upon thoughts of cruelty, he has abandoned the thoughts of non-cruelty to cultivate the thoughts of cruelty. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of cruelty. So how your mind inclines to thoughts of, if you keep on pondering upon those things, upon the thoughts of cruelty, definitely you are away from compassion. You cannot have compassion as well as cruelty at the same time going. So whenever you recognize there's a cruelty in my mind, if you do 6 R's and come back again to compassion or loving kindness, then you're really letting go or abandoning cruelty. But it is very important to know that even these thoughts were coming to the Buddha also. And still he could become awakened. So it's a very inspiring thing that even he had those thoughts. Now he's given a very good simile to understand this. Just as in the last month of rainy season, in the autumn, when the crops thickened, a cowherd would guard his cows by constantly tapping and poking them on this side and that with a stick to check and curb them. Why is that? Because he sees that he could he could be flogged, imprisoned, fined, or blamed if we let them stray into the crops. So too I saw in unwholesome states danger, degradation, and defilement, and in wholesome states the blessing of renunciation, the aspect of free will. So he's given this example that in the rainy season, if the crops are all thickened and come up, the cowherd, in India especially, the fields are not protected by compound. So whenever a cowherd, he takes his cows for grazing, he has to be very alert and keeps on poking them so that they do not enter into any field and eat all the grains that have come. Why he has to do this? Because otherwise he'll be punished. In the same way, we have a lot of distractions in today's life. We have all these gadgets and mobiles and this. We have to keep on poking our mind. There are a lot of distractions going towards sensual pleasures. So we have to keep checking ourselves and let it not go towards all those sensual pleasures. Instead, we have to go towards letting go. That is renunciation, and keep our mind more clean, cleansing matter. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of renunciation arose in. Now he has all these positive thoughts coming up. Here also he understood. I understood thus. This thought of renunciation has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction. Means it is not going to hurt me, or I'm not going to suffer because of this renunciation or letting go thoughts. This does not lead to my own affliction or to others' affliction or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. Now he says that these positive thoughts of loving kindness or compassion or the thoughts of renunciation, that is letting go, they do not cause any difficulty to me, to others, and they lead to Nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for one night, or even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from it. So he said, even if I ponder upon it for a day or night, I see no difficulty in it, no fear from it. But now here the real important sentence starts. But with excessive thinking and pondering, I might tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind becomes strained. And when the mind is strained, it is far from balance or collectedness. So I steadied my mind internally, quieted it, brought it to singleness, and balanced it. Why is that? So that my mind should not be strained. Now, here is very important. Even if you're thinking too much about loving kindness or taking loving kindness also very personally. Yeah, I am into loving kindness meditation, or I am into Dhamma, and I want Nibbana. I want Nibbana. Even we know the example of Bhantyanand. He was saying, I will become Arhant tomorrow. I want to become Arhant. I want. So he actually strained his body and mind, and he was away from Nibbana. So this is how, even if you are too much into giving seva or thinking too much about renunciation or letting, don't take anything personally. All these things happen because their causes and conditions come to be, not to take anything personally. Even the thoughts of renunciation or even the thoughts of loving kindness, compassion, you should not keep on pondering upon. You just have to take it non-personally rather. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of non-ill will arouse in me, a thought of non-cruelty arouse in me. I understood thus. This thought of non-cruelty has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction or to the other's affliction. or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. So when he was meditating very ardently and resolutely, a thought of loving kindness aroused in him. A thought of compassion aroused in him. And then he came to know these thoughts are so nice. It is not harmful for others, not harmful for me, not harmful for both. And it leads to Nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from it. But again, here also, he has said the same thing. But with excessive thinking and pondering, even about loving kindness, even about compassion, if you're excessively thinking, I might tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind becomes strained. And when the mind is strained, it is far from collectedness. So I steadied my mind internally, quieted it, brought to singleness and collectedness. Why is that? So that my mind should not be strained. So even in meditation also, we have to be really relaxed. If you are experiencing some kind of stages or some posing in jhanas also, you start experiencing. And if you start pondering or craving for those stages also, or those types of pleasurable sensations or jhanas, if you start craving for that, so again you are going away from Nibbana. So not to take anything personally, just to observe things as they are. Students, whatever a student frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of the mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of renunciation, he has abandoned the thoughts of sensual desire to cultivate the thought of renunciation. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of renunciation. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of non-ill will, upon thoughts of non-cruelty, he has abandoned the thought of cruelty to cultivate the thought of non-cruelty. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of non-cruelty. That is why we are working into Brahma Viharas. Always our mind is coming into loving kindness, compassion, or karuna. But here also Bhante has told us to keep the mind, the object of meditation, very lightly. Don't hold on to it. If you keep on holding on to it, then again you're straining yourself. You're working too hard. Here, if you keep on controlling yourself, I have to be in loving kindness. I have to be in loving kindness. And you're holding on to it, then you're again overdoing it. And there is a stress. Again, you're away from it. So just your mind should just revolve around loving kindness meditation. And let it go. If your mind goes into other defilements, just 6 hours and come back. The process is very easy. So in other meditations, you try to hold on to, like breath meditations is there, or any other meditations. You try to hold on to those objects of meditation. We think that we are doing a very good work by holding on to the object of meditation. Then again, you're stressing, causing a strain to yourself, and you're away from Nibbana. But if your mind is constantly in compassion, very lightly, and in loving kindness. So just be very light, hold it very light, and keep on revolving your mind over that. And if your mind goes away, just recognize that my mind has gone into ill will or aversion. Release it by knowing that it causes problem for you, for others. Release, relax, and come back again. So it is so easy process that is not over strenuous. Then we recognize our mind is always into loving kindness. Whatever arises, we are immediately mindful to relax it. Now here again, this example he has given. Just as in the last month of hot season, when all the crops have been brought inside the villages, a coward would guard his cows while staying at the root of a tree. or out in the open, since he needs only to be mindful that the cows are there, so too there was need for me only to be mindful that those states were there. Now, definitely by daily practice, we are able to release and relax, recognize, release, relax. 6 hours becomes very easy process. So our mindfulness increases. Just like the example that he has given us simile, that a coward, once all the uh, crops have been taken to the villages, and now the coward is sitting very relaxed. He just has to be mindful about the cows. He doesn't have to keep them poking here and there. Now our mind sthiti, by developing our mindfulness and by doing 6 hours, the practice of 6 hours, we do not enter into sensual pleasures very easily. Our mind doesn't get distracted much that easily or that frequently what is to happen before. So by this, our energy increases. Tireless energy was aroused in me, and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil and untroubled, my mind collected and unified. So by daily practice, or when you go for a course like 8 days or 10 days course, the first 2 days we are a little bit distracted. Then your body gets a discomfort. Then your mind has become quiet because you have started knowing the art of doing 6 hours. And you are not taking things personally because you know they just arise and they pass away. So this stage gives a lot of comfort. And this is what even Buddha started experiencing. A very light state. There was no hard and concentrated efforts. So he came to know it should be very light, madhyam marg, the middle path. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states. I entered and abided in the first hand. Can easily go because there's an understanding that now my mind has become quiet, or now my body is a little comfort. I've started experiencing joy. So these are the stages of jhana, the level of understanding, or you are able to do 6 hours much better. And you're started taking things impersonally. Now you're not taking whatever arises in your mind, you're taking personally. So these differences happen. I directly knew birth is destroyed. The holy life has been lived. What has to be done? What has to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. Now here, every time whenever we do 6 hours, the energy, that is the every thought gives birth to any action. So we come to know that the birth of action has been destroyed. For us, for lay persons like us, or at this stage, even one action that we were going to do, good or bad, we have, by doing 6 hours, we have come out of that, which is very important. So this was the third true knowledge attended by me in the last watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and true knowledge aroused. Darkness was banished and light aroused, as happens in one who abided diligent, ardent, and resolute. So now he says, this is the third noble truth. First is, he knew there was suffering. Second is, he knew the cause of suffering. So he made these thoughts, sensual pleasure thoughts, and they're different, and letting go them. Then the third, yes, it can be destroyed. Dukkha can be destroyed. And the fourth is the path, the Nibbana. Now, I will share one example over here. When we come to know ki by doing 6 hours or by being mindful, constantly mindful, and by being into jhanas or doing 6 hours, how one will think, how can one become so arhant, or how can the ignorance be was banished? How? So this example, if you are traveling in a very like in a ghat or in a hilly station, and there is totally darkness, Now, you cannot see the whole road at all, but you have this headlights of your car, which is only of 5 feet. You can see only 5 feet. But with those headlights, you can pass through the whole region very safely. If you're very ardent, if you're very diligent and continuously driving with those 5 feet of headlights of your car, you can travel the whole dark path. In the same way, he says, ignorance was banished and true knowledge aroused. Darkness was banished. So even we can travel through all this if we are mindful and doing 6 hours and practicing Brahma Viharas. Suppose bhikkhus that in a wooded range there was a great low-lying marsh. Now here also is given an example to us. You share example with us. Low-lying marsh, near which a large herd of deer lived. Then a man appeared, desiring their ruin, harm, and bondage. And he closed off the safe and good path to be traveled joyfully. And he opened up a false path, and he put out a decoy and set up a dummy so that the large herd of deer might later come upon calamity, disaster, and loss. But another man came, desiring their good, welfare, and protection. And he reopened the safe and good path that led to their happiness. And he closed off the false path, and he removed the decoy and destroyed the dummy, so that the large herd of deer might later come to growth, increase, and fulfillment. Now, here there is given a very good example that supposing a bad person, a man desiring, I mean, you can say our own this Mara attack, our own weaknesses. He's given example, if a man opens a false road for the deers, a marshy land where there is a lot of water and mud, marshy, and they will get 100% get stuck up when they go to that from that area. So he closes the safe area and opens this problematic or troubled area or difficult areas for the deers, because they should be to ruin them, to harm them. He opens it and has a decoy and all those sets dummy things over there so that they get false impression and they go over there. But there's another man, a good man, who closes all these bad roads and opens a good road for the happiness of those deers. So this is an example given by Buddha. All these sensual pleasures, all this sensual, because of sensual pleasures, we have ill will or other things happening or aversion coming up in our mind. These distractions, they actually are very harmful for us. There's so much around us. It's our own weaknesses which gets attracted to all these things. That is called as Mara. Mara is a weakness, our personal weakness. So if we have this weakness of too much of indulging in eating or watching movies or listening to music, all these sensual pleasures or traveling, so they are very, they will cause us difficulties in future. In the beginning, we feel it is very nice, but in the future, it's going to cause us difficulty. Whereas the thoughts of renunciation, that is letting go or compassion, these are the very safer place. And this will definitely lead us to Nibbana. Because I have given this simile in order to convey the meaning. This is the meaning. The great low-lying marsh is a term for sensual pleasures. The large herd of deer is a term for being. The man desiring their ruin, harm, and bondage is a term for Mara, the evil one. The false path is a term for the wrong way of going. That is the false path. That is wrong view, wrong intention, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness, and wrong collectiveness, concentration, you can say. Whenever we are into sensual pleasures, we are doing all these wrong things. Our view that one should become enjoy pleasures and all this, These are all wrong views. Then because of that, our intention gets wrong. Then we start speaking wrong things. So all these things come up because of craving or wrong intentions. The decoy is a term for delight and lust. We start taking delight in sensual pleasures. That is the main decoy. The dummy is a term for ignorance. So ignorance, we think that we are very much enjoying life into sensual pleasures, but that is all ignorance. Because nothing is permanent. Which pleasure which comes out of sensual pleasures? Nothing is permanent. So that is all ignorance. The man desiring their good, welfare, and protection is a term for Tathagat, accomplished and fully enlightened. The safe and good path to be traveled, joyful, is a term for the Noble Eightfold Path. That is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right collectedness. So, students, the safe and good path to be traveled joyfully has been reopened by me. The wrong path has been closed off, the decoy removed, the dummy destroyed. See, in those days, also in Buddha's days, also, there were many other processes where people thought those are good, like if you animal killing, or we had this rites and rituals, and many other things were there going on in those days also. But Buddha opened up this safe path, which was not harmful for others, not harmful for your own things. And that really led to Nibbana. Many people in those days became Arhant. And that is a proof where this path has been opened in those days, and it really worked for many people till now. We also, whenever we do 6 hours, whenever we are into loving kindness or into Brahma Viharas, and whenever we go into jhanas, the bliss and the pleasure is uncomparable. It has got nothing to do with sensual pleasures. These are all outside things. The inner core of our mind, that is the real blissful, which we can experience only during jhanas or when you are meditating. But now here also I will say, ki whenever you are experiencing any kind of pleasurable things while meditating, that also you should not take it personally, because that is also still into the sensual things, the inside things, but they are still into mind and matter. We have to go beyond that. So not to take any experiences also during meditation very personally. What should be done for his disciples out of compassion by a teacher who seeks their welfare and has compassion for them, that I have done for you? There are these roots of trees, these empty huts. That is, these are the places where you can go and meditate. Meditate, bhikkhus. Do not delay, or else you will regret later. This is our instruction to you. So even Buddha says, do not delay your meditation. Do not delay your letting go, or do not delay 6 hours. So be mindful. Whatever arises in your mind, it arises because of causes and conditions. Do not take it anything personally, and just do 6 hours till your mind becomes quiet, and then we have to just observe whatever arises. 6 hours mindfulness. We have to keep on checking our mind. So two types of thoughts will come. One is all the sensual pleasures, ill will, cruelty, and one is renunciation. This. So whatever arises, we have to bring back again, come back to Brahma Viharas, any of the Brahma Viharas, and cultivate that mood, good things. That is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One words. This gives an idea about thinking about what we should take things personally, or whatever arises in our mind. Even Buddha, he had gone through all these cruel thoughts have come. He did not criticize himself. Okay, why all these thoughts are coming to me? So don't criticize. Whatever arises in your mind, do not criticize. Just accept, because it has arisen because of those circumstances. We only have created those circumstances in our own mind because in the past we had kept on pondering upon those things, upon all ill will or cruelty or sensual pleasures. That is why it is again and again arising in our mind. Not to criticize ourselves, just let go to 6 hours, recognize that my mind is in sensual pleasure or in ill will, just release that energy. Not to go into that content also, no need. Come back again on your body. Relax any tightness, tension that has arisen because of that distraction. Just bring the attention back on your body and smile. Smile and just come back again to it. So do not criticize whatever arises in your mind. Even Buddha's mind, also there was sensual pleasures coming up, ill will, cruelty thoughts had come in his mind, and he did 6 hours and he's come out. That is why we have to keep on uplifting our mind all the time. Any questions? Does anyone
Manjula
have
ji,
any?
you are referring to 6 hours. What is 6 hours? There are many new students who have joined for this talk. They would like to know what is actually 6 hours.
Okay, very good question. In the beginning only, I should have asked how many new students are there by mistake. Now 6 hours. 6 hours is the six states of your mind. First, recognize that your mind has been distracted. When you are in loving kindness or you have taken this object of loving kindness and your mind gets away from the loving kindness. While your mind is distracted, you never realize that your mind is getting distracted in the beginning. So after some time, just recognize your mind is not into loving kindness. It is distracted into some distractor. That is the first 6 hours. That is the first hour that is recognize that your mind has been distracted. Second hour is release the distraction, release the attention from the distraction. Don't push away that distraction. Do not criticize that distraction, that why it has come into my mind. Means again and again you are doing the same thing. No, you just have to release it. Just drop it. Drop the attention. Now bring that attention back on your body. Any tightness, tension, because every thought creates a sensation in our body. And there is certain type of tension and tightness, subtle. You might not have too much of tension, tightness, but subtle. Or sometimes it will be too much also. Just relax. So that is the third hour. You have to relax any tightness on your, especially on your head area, or there's a frowning, or sometimes you have just holded your fingers tightly. Just relax. That is the third hour. Fourth hour is re-smile. Re-smile that you did a very great efforts of recognizing, releasing, and relaxing. So give a smile to your own self that you have been a great warrior, virya. That's the greatest thing that one can do, to recognize that your mind was distracted and taking your attention from the distraction and bring it back on your body, relaxing, smiling, smile. So this is a very wholesome thing. It's a very wholesome thing. Just smile. That gives a more relaxed feeling. Return back to the object of meditation, that you must be into giving loving kindness to yourself or to your friend, or in 6 directions. It can be loving kindness, it can be compassion, it can be even it can be samta bhav, that is important. So anything that you are radiating, you have to. So 6 hours is, first is recognize that your mind has wandered, release the distraction, bring the attention back on your body, relax any tightness, tension, and smile. Smile is very important. Even if you're aware of your smile, still you're on the path. And recognize, release, relax, return back, and repeat again if your mind wanders, or you remain if your mind is steady and stable. So this is 6 hours. So every time your mind what? But if at least even a little bit you are into loving kindness and background there are thoughts, means the lamp is flickering, but it is not extinguished. Then there is no need to do 6 hours. Even if your small portion of your mind is into loving kindness and background the thoughts are there, then there is no need to do 6 hours. Only when the lamp gets extinguished, then only again you burn it. That is the time when you have to do 6 hours. Any other questions?
Madam, Mrs. Manjula ji, thank you so much. I really like your headlights simile. So maybe I might borrow that someday. It's very useful and very clear.
Very clear, because it's just, only by 5 feet of headlights, we can move through all the dark places. This is how we have to do continuously if you're mindful. That's enough to remove our ignorance.
Very nice, very inspiring. Thank you.
This is my first talk, so I'm not able to was I audible or I don't know.
Yes, very clear. And thank you so much. So sorry because you're still recovering from your illness. So yeah. I hope you get better
But
soon.
it did not disturb me much. I'm happy about my cough today. Anything else? Any questions? This sutta seems very simple, but this is really a core of, even Buddha went through all these. He says that I had this cruelty thoughts and ill will thoughts. The acceptance of this is so nice. Even that is more inspiring, that even we have all these thoughts coming up and we can still become enlightened. Let us share some merits. Okay, is all the questions over?
I have one more. I have one question.
Yeah.
Ms. Manjula. It's about this sutta makes me think of something Sister Kema used to say. I think it's sort of in this sutta. She used to talk about having like 1 cup of energy per day. She sometimes talked about this, right? And this sutta as well, this talks about, unwholesome mind objects and, to let them go, and then wholesome mind objects. And then, okay, you can ponder that for a night and a day. So maybe this takes like less energy, and then it's, 6 hours. And this is the most efficient kind of mind process. So I thought I sort of recognize this in this sutta as well. So that's kind of neat. That's nice, right?
Yes. Very nice. Good. So let us share some merits, or any other questions, or anyone wants to share something about their own experience about this sutta. We have some time with us. So everyone has this experience. There were some unwholesome thoughts and we are able to recognize and release, relax, and give a smile to ourselves first. Yes, I could do this. This is so important. It's a real win-win situation when you do 6 hours. And Bhante has made it so easy for us. Okay, so let us share some merits. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck, fearless being. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Manjula ji. I hope you get better soon. And
Yes.
hopefully next time you can come on again on Sunday when you are free, when convenient.
Yeah. Sundays I'm little free. Yes, sure.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Oh,
sadhu. Thank you.
thank
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.